to my review of Flash, Episode 11, The Return, or The Reverse Flash Returns. Now, this week's episode of Flash, we're dealing with quite a few issues this week. First of all, let's start with Barry. Barry's still trying to hide the fact that he's the Flash from Patty, but Patty finds out in this episode that he's the Flash. And yet, still, she's going to leave. So, on one hand, it's like, well, good riddance to you. On the other hand, it's like, what are you going to do about that? So, the Reverse Flash comes back. And in this episode, and in order to find the Reverse Flash, Harrison Wells and Cisco create these cool goggles, right? In order to try to trigger the vibe within Cisco, so that they can get more information about what Reverse Flash is up to and what he's doing, where he's at, everything. So, also in this episode, we deal with issues with the West family. Again, another episode where the West family are dealing with some dysfunction. The dysfunctional West family. So Francine, which is Iris and Wally's mom, is dying. And Joe's already went to see her in the hospital. And Iris goes to see her in the hospital. And they have this nice touching moment where everything gets copacetic. And, she forgives her. And, they come together. And what ends up happening is Iris goes to Wally and is like, hey, listen, this may be the last time you ever get to see your mom. So why not go and visit her? Now, meanwhile, back in the Flash camp, Flash finds the Reverse Flash and beats the crap out of him, dude. Just beats the living tar out of him. And then once he's beaten the crap out of him, then takes him back and puts him down in their cell. Yeah, you know how in the Flash, how they got like those little booths or little containment fields where they keep the metahumans. So they keep him there. But by doing this, it puts Cisco's life in jeopardy, where he's having these nosebleeds, and then he starts to fade from existence, and he's going into like this cardiac arrest. And so what ends up happening is Barry's got to go against his nature with all the pain and the anger and the frustration that he feels towards Reverse Flash, and against his own better judgment, lets him out of his cage and has to send him to the future in order to keep the time stream stable so that Cisco doesn't die. Very, very odd paradox. Also in this episode, after we've gotten rid of the Reverse Flash, Cisco and his vitals go back to normal. And what we find out is that Jay, through Caitlin trying to help him find his Earth 1 counterpart and maybe take some of those healthy cells and put them into Jay, come to find out, Jay's counterpart on Earth 1 is Hunter Zolomon. Like, isn't that a blast from the past from the comic books? In the comic books, Hunter Zolomon ends up becoming the Reverse Flash eventually. And what Jay ends up telling her is, hey, listen, it isn't going to work. The only way to save me is to get my speed back. So, this week was a little different, Especially, I'm going to talk about this in the other reviews. But last week, Supernatural was like really, really good, and like Flash wasn't so good. But I felt like this week they reversed roles. Like Flash really came out swinging, and like Supernatural just wasn't hitting the mark. So I give the overall episode a solid 9, 9.5. I thought that the West family coming together at the end, I thought that them stopping the Reverse Flash, and especially this cool new goggles that, and this what I call vibe vision, where he can see all these events and things going on, I thought was really cool. So, and finding out that Jay is still dying and running into the Reverse Flash again, and Barry telling him that, you're never going to get the best of me again, I thought was really, really good. And overall, like I said, give it a solid 9.5. It was, so stay tuned next week, and we'll dig deeper into these issues. And hopefully by next week they go to Earth 2, and we'll get to see that reverse Caitlin, the reverse killer, that Killer Frost, and that opposite version of Firestorm. So thanks very much for tuning into my reviews. I'm Spyke Vonshadow, and I'll see you next time.